Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a little girl who lived with her mommy and her daddy and her little brother Timmy in a big blue house at the end of a long gravel driveway at the edge of a forest in Tillamook, Oregon. And one thing the little girl really loved to do was read Bible stories out of My Bible Friends. And in these stories, she could see beautiful pictures of all these places that Jesus and his friends walked and traveled while they were here on earth 2,000 years ago. And one place she always imagined visiting was the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus and his disciples went fishing. Well, one day, the little girl's mommy said, "We're going to go on a trip." And so the little girl and her mommy packed their suitcases and they got on an airplane and they flew and flew and flew and flew and flew over 20 hours until they got to the modern country of Israel, the real life country today where Jesus and his disciples lived so long ago. And they got off the airplane and they met a whole group of people and they all got on a tour bus. And that tour bus started driving and driving and driving. And pretty soon it went up over a hill and around a corner. And out of the front of the bus, the little girl saw something. It was sparkling blue in the distance. And the mommy said, "Little girl, that is the real life Sea of Galilee." The little girl was so excited. Pretty soon the bus pulled into a parking place and everyone got off the bus and started walking. Dr. Carl was the tour leader and he led them right to an amphitheater. It was very, very old. Archaeologists had dug in the ground and found this amphitheater where Jesus and his disciples could have been many, many years ago. And they had uncovered it and rebuilt it so that now today people can walk in on the stone benches and sit and look down at the stage where even now modern concerts and events happen. And on that particular day, Dr. Carl went down and stood on that stage and started talking to the tour group. Well, the tour group all sat up in the tall benches above the stage, and from there they could look down and see Dr. Carl and hear him talking and look out and see the beautiful Sea of Galilee. Well, the little girl and her mommy were sitting in the back row, and as they were sitting there, the little girl heard something. What was that sound? Where was it coming from? She said, "Mommy, Mommy," little girl. The mommy said, "Shh, little girl, Dr. Carl's talking." But the sound kept coming and coming, and the little girl was very concerned because it sounded like there was something in trouble. She said, "Mommy, Mommy, we need to go look." And so the mommy and the little girl got up and they left their tour group and they walked up the aisle all the way to the very top benches where there was a guardrail on the very back of the amphitheater. And there, dangling from the back rail by strings, was a bird. It was flapping its wings. It was hanging upside down because its feet were caught in a whole bunch of strings. And as it was hanging there, there was nothing it could do to save itself. All it could do was flap its wings and call and hope that someone somewhere would hear it. Well, the little girl and the mommy got there and they knew they had to help that bird. And the mommy, she had a very special bag. She opened her bag because inside that bag, she carried many things that people would need when they would travel. And she dug down inside her bag until she found a set of nail clippers. And the little girl was wearing a scarf, and so she took off the scarf and she wrapped it around the baby bird. And they turned the bird upside down. And the mommy started snipping, snip, 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 snip. And pretty soon, all of those pieces of string that had been tied around those birds' legs that had gotten caught were set free. And the little bird's legs were no longer trapped anymore. When they turned the bird back over and they didn't know, was the bird going to be okay? How long had it been hanging there calling for help? And the little girl took the scarf off and she held it in her hands, and the bird sat there, and it looked up at her in a little black beady eye. And then all of a sudden it went chirp, chirp, and it spread its wings and it flew. It took off and it circled around the mommy and the little girl standing there in the back of that amphitheater and flew off over the Sea of Galilee. Free. It was free to be, free to live the life Jesus had created it to be. It had been stuck. It had been tangled. There was nothing it could do to be set free on its own. And yet, because now it had been set free, it could live its life as it was meant to be. Boys and girls, we have all kinds of things in our lives that can tangle us up and make it difficult for us to live the life Jesus has planned for us. And I want to encourage each of you today to look out for the helpers. Look for the people that can help set you free. And even best of all, look to your best friend, Jesus, because more than anything, he wants you to be free and live the life he has planned for each one of you today.